After I rescued their son from drowning, they called the cops on me for trespassing. "Don't touch our kid again," he shouted while holding the medal my daughter earned for CPR. I didn't say a word. But that same week, I made a call that turned their backyard into. We live in a quiet part of Raleigh, North Carolina. Suburban, safe, mostly older folks and young families. I've been here with my wife and daughter, Sarah, for about 7 years. People mostly mind their business. Some wave. Some don't. But until last year, we'd never had any real issues with our neighbors. Then the Williams family moved in. Brian and Teresa. 2 sons. Big truck, loud yard equipment, the kind of people who never pick up after their dog. Didn't bother me much. I'm not the HOA type. I figured, live and let live. My wife, Amy, tried a few times to be neighborly, dropped off cookies, invited them to a block party, but they never really wanted to talk. They built a pool in their backyard about 6 months after they moved in. Real quick. One day it was dirt, next week it was filled. I remember hearing Brian brag to some guy in the driveway, "Did it all myself, no permits. County's too slow." I didn't say anything. Not my problem. Then came that day in July. Hot, sticky, the kind of day where everything feels heavy. Sarah had just gotten home from a morning shift at the local pool. She's 17. Been a lifeguard since she turned 16. Took all the Red Cross classes. She wants to be a nurse. One of those kids who has it together. She was still in her swimsuit, grabbing a snack in the kitchen, when we both heard it, screaming. Not yelling. Screaming. We ran out to the deck and looked across the fence. Tyler, their youngest, maybe 6 or 7, was face down in the pool. There was no one else outside. Sarah didn't wait. She tossed her phone to me, jumped the fence, and dove in. I called 911 while she pulled him to the side and started compressions. It was fast. Efficient. She didn't hesitate. You could hear the water slapping the concrete under her knees. I watched my daughter save that boy's life with my own eyes. By the time the paramedics showed up, he was coughing. Breathing. His color came back. They took him in the ambulance just to be safe. That's when Brian came outside. He didn't ask what happened. Didn't say thank you. He stormed past the paramedics, saw Sarah still sitting by the pool, soaked and shaking, and said, "Who told you you could touch him?" Loud. Right in her face. Amy and I were already walking over. I said, "She just saved your son." He ignored me. "You had no right. This is private property." Sarah stood up, still crying a little, and said, "He wasn't breathing." That made him angrier. "Don't you ever touch my kid again. You're lucky I don't call the cops." And then he did call them. Told them we broke into his yard. That Sarah put her hands on his son. That he didn't consent to medical care. The cops showed up, took statements, asked us to stay off his property from now on. They didn't arrest us, but they said the Williams family could press charges if they wanted. Said the whole thing was complicated. Complicated? Sarah didn't talk for the rest of the night. Amy cried. I sat at the kitchen table, holding her CPR card in my hand, just staring at it. Next day, a small box shows up on our porch. No return address. Inside was Sarah's CPR medal. Bent. Just a little note, "Don't ever touch our kid again." No name. But I knew Brian's handwriting. Messy, all caps. Same style I'd seen when he labeled his tools in the garage. Sarah picked up the medal, looked at it for maybe 5 seconds, and then said, "I'm going to work," and walked out the door. I didn't say anything. But I knew what I was going to do. That same afternoon, I made a call to the Wake County Zoning Office. Asked a few questions. Gave them an anonymous tip. Said there was an unpermitted pool in my neighborhood. Gave them the address. That was just the beginning. 2 days later, a white county SUV pulled up to the Williams house. I was in the garage when I saw it. I didn't walk over, didn't peek through the fence. I just listened. Voices. Knock on their door. More voices. Someone walked around the side gate. Then I heard it. The unmistakable scrape of the gate being pulled open. They were inspecting the pool. Later that afternoon, Brian was out back, pacing. He was on the phone, angry. Yelling. I could hear every word from my driveway. They can't do this. I built that thing with my own money. Pause. No, I don't have the paperwork. I told you, we didn't need it. A week later, a bright orange sign went up on their back fence. Condemned until further notice, unsafe structure. And just like that, the pool was shut down. A few days after that, a crew came out with jackhammers. Brian had to start tearing up the concrete. The whole thing had to be inspected from the ground up, or they'd face daily fines. He was furious. I acted like I didn't know anything. Just waved when I saw him. He didn't wave back. Then one night, about 2 weeks after the whole thing started, there was a knock on our door. It was Teresa. She looked tired. Dark circles under her eyes. She didn't say much. Just, can we talk? I let her in. Amy sat with us. Teresa didn't look up the whole time. Just stared at her hands. She said, "Thank you for saving Tyler." I nodded. Waited. Then she said, "I didn't know he was going to call the police." "I'm sorry." I told him it was wrong. He wouldn't listen. Amy said, "Sarah didn't deserve that. None of us did." Teresa just nodded. Then she said, "We're in trouble. Financially. The pool, we borrowed money to build it. It wasn't supposed to go like this." She didn't ask for help. Didn't ask us to fix it. Just stood up after that and said, "I wanted you to know I didn't agree with what he did. And thank you again. For what your daughter did." And then she left. That night, I found Sarah sitting outside. She'd heard some of it through the door. She said, "Do you think he'll ever apologize?" I said, "No." She nodded like she already knew that. But the story didn't end there. Because 3 days later, someone egged our house. 3 dozen eggs, at least. Cracked all over the siding, the car, the porch. No cameras caught it. No witnesses. But I had a feeling. So I made another call. To someone else Brian pissed off months ago. A contractor friend who Brian never paid after hiring him for concrete work. I gave him all the details about the inspection. Told him about the unlicensed electrical hookups I saw through the fence. The guy smiled and said, "Thanks, man. I'll make sure they know." By the end of the month, 2 more investigations were open. One for safety code violations. Another for hiring unlicensed labor. Brian started spending more time in his garage, slamming things around. I kept my distance. But it wasn't over. Because I was about to find out that Brian had one more move left, and it was going to get ugly. A few weeks passed. The Williams' backyard was a construction zone. Fenced off with yellow tape. Brian stopped making eye contact with me. Sarah kept to herself more. She didn't go near their yard. Not even to take out the trash. Then, one morning, I noticed something strange. A black SUV, unmarked, parked outside their house. 2 men got out. Suits. One had a clipboard. They weren't from zoning. I found out later, through a friend at the county office, that Brian was under investigation for fraud. Turns out, he didn't just build an unpermitted pool. He filed fake claims on some of the construction materials, trying to write them off under a small business he ran on the side. Something about forged invoices. And the call I made? It triggered a paper trail. Someone started asking questions. That's when the real trouble started for him. About a week later, I heard shouting in the Williams' backyard. Late at night. At first, I ignored it. But then I heard something slam. And then another sound, glass shattering. I went outside, thinking maybe I'd have to call the cops. Again. But then I saw Sarah. Standing at the edge of our fence. Frozen. I walked up to her. She whispered, "They're fighting." We both listened. Teresa's voice. Loud. Crying. "This is your fault, Brian. All of it. You said we'd be fine." Then a long pause. "Then Brian, they ruined us. That damn girl ruined everything." Sarah didn't say anything. Just turned and went inside. I stood there for a minute. Thinking. Next morning, there was a sign in their front yard, "For sale by owner." They were leaving. Good. But then it got bad again. Because 3 nights later, I came home from work to find our front door pried open. Just barely, like someone tried but didn't finish the job. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. Just a single muddy footprint on the porch. We called the police. They filed a report, but there were no prints, no camera footage. Just suspicion. Then, 2 days after that, Sarah's car got keyed. Deep scratches along the side. Words carved in, "Liar." It wasn't subtle. We filed another report. Again, no proof. No cameras. Nothing to tie it back to Brian. But we knew. And the part that really stung? Sarah didn't cry. Didn't even look shocked. She just said, "Let them leave. I don't care anymore." But I cared. So I went back to the friend at the county. Asked if he could tell me what was really going on. He said, Brian's business license was revoked. He's being audited. And someone's filed a civil suit, looks like one of his former employees. I nodded. Then he said, "You didn't hear this from me, but he might be facing criminal charges." I didn't smile. Not even inside. But for the first time in months, I slept through the night. The house went quiet after they moved. No slamming doors, no yelling. Just silence. Sarah still parks in the far corner of the driveway, even though her spot's been empty for months. She never asked about the pool again. And I never told her what else I did. But sometimes, late at night, I still wonder if doing the right thing should feel this heavy. Or if maybe, I just stopped knowing what right even means.